it's time to say goodbye to samurai and anime. Japan's dealing with a big issue. Around 9 million empty houses are scattered across the country. That's because of the aging population and low birth rate. If this keeps up, parts of Japan might just disappear off the map. Japan's population crisis has been building for decades, and the path to relief could take just as long. Each year, Japan releases new data showing a continued decline in births, with 2023 marking an 8th consecutive year of falling births. The fertility rate, currently at 1.3, has been below the replacement level of 2.1 for 50 years, causing the population to shrink with more deaths than births. The aging population makes things worse, with seniors now making up 30% of the population. Despite over 9 million seniors still working, Japan's workforce is shrinking, projected to drop from 74 million today to 49 million by 2050. With more deaths than births, the economy faces lower productivity, higher social security costs, and rising pressure on an already stressed younger workforce. The country's demographic problem has been worsened by factors like high living costs, limited space, and a demanding work culture, which contribute to fewer people marrying and having children. In 2023, the number of marriages in Japan fell below 500,000 for the first time in 90 years. In 2023, 260 companies went bankrupt due to insufficient workers. Despite this, Japan's unemployment rate remains under 3%, one of the lowest in the world, creating a paradox of plentiful jobs but too few people to fill them. Prime Minister Fumio Kishida warned in 2023 that Japan might soon struggle to function as a society. To illustrate the situation, consider Kawakami Village, where Kentaro Yokobori, the first baby born in 25 years, was celebrated as a miracle. While his birth offers some hope, the overall decline of the village paints a grim picture of Japan's future. 40 years ago, Kawakami had 6,000 people. Today, it's down to 1,150, mostly seniors. Abandoned homes are common, reflecting a larger trend of rural communities disappearing. While cities like Tokyo grow, over 90% of Japan's population now lives in urban areas, leaving industries like farming short on workers. Right now, millions of homes in Japan are sitting empty, almost 9 million, according to recent estimates. Some are holiday homes and some are rentals, but over a third of them, about 3.8 million, are abandoned, known as Akia. Last week, Japan's Ministry of Internal Affairs and Communications shared a report on the country's empty homes. The total number of vacant houses in Japan has reached 8.9 million, or 13.8% of all homes, which is a slight increase from 2018. Of those, 5.9% are abandoned, the highest number on record. The rise in abandoned homes is often linked to Japan's aging population. Nearly a third of the population is over 65, making Japan home to the world's oldest population, according to the World Economic Forum. This shift has led to rural depopulation as younger generations move to cities. Older residents either move to retirement homes or leave their houses empty, with no one around to take over. There are efforts to tackle the housing problem, like renovating old houses to rent out as unique stays for tourists, or selling them to foreigners looking to settle in rural Japan. In 2020, the International Monetary Fund warned that Japan's population decline could cut GDP growth by 0.8% annually over the next 40 years. With fewer workers and lower productivity, this outcome seems almost inevitable. Although Japan has seen modest economic growth in recent years, averaging 1 to 2%, it's far from strong. If no action is taken, Japan risks entering a prolonged economic slump, mirroring the downward trend in its population. Rural regions, already suffering from depopulation and the migration of younger generations to cities, will feel the effects more acutely, with local economies continuing to collapse. A clear example of this demographic shift is the small village of Tene. Aoi Hoshi and Ii Tasato, the last two students at Yamuto Junior High School, will soon graduate, and the school, which has been around for 76 years, will close its doors for good. This is far from an isolated case. Declining birth rates have led to widespread school closures, especially in rural areas. Between 2002 and 2020, nearly 9,000 schools shut down across Japan, with about 450 schools closing annually. These closures highlight the broader impact of the population decline on local communities and infrastructure. Japan's population crisis didn't happen overnight. It's the result of long-term demographic changes. A key moment was the failure of the third baby boom, which was expected to happen in the 2000s. To understand this, we have to look back at the two earlier baby booms. The first one occurred in the late 1940s, when soldiers returning from World War II started families, leading to a post-war population surge. The second baby boom happened in the 1970s, as the children from the first boom began having families of their own, causing another spike in birth rates. By the time the second generation came of age in the 2000s, a third boom seemed inevitable, but it never happened. Without this expected increase in births, Japan's population began to decline. So why didn't the third baby boom happen? In the 1960s, Japan saw a cultural shift in marriage practices. Arranged marriages had been the norm, but by 1965, love marriages began to outnumber them. While this shift might seem like a romantic evolution, it also made marriage less of an obligation. As a result, marriage rates started to decline in the 1970s and have reached historic lows, leading to fewer children and worsening the population crisis. Japan has taken several steps in an attempt to address its population crisis, but whether these measures will be enough to reverse the decline remains uncertain. Japan has started to open its doors to more foreign workers in response to labor shortages. In 2022, long-term immigration increased by 144,000, with the majority being workers and their families. Policies have been adjusted to allow foreign graduates to stay in Japan, provided they secure relevant employment. However, Japan's immigration policies remain restrictive, focusing primarily on temporary residency. This makes permanent settlement difficult and excludes dual citizenship, discouraging skilled foreign workers and complicating the return of Japanese nationals who've lived abroad. Domestically, the government is trying to encourage higher birth rates through financial incentives. The Children's Future Strategy policy, launched by Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, allocates approximately $23.7 billion annually over 3 to 5 years to support child rearing. This includes expanding child allowances with no income restrictions and offering childbirth grants of up to about $3,300. Japan is not the only country facing this. Italy, much like Japan, is grappling with a rapidly declining birth rate that threatens to worsen the nation's demographic and economic future. According to Italy's National Statistical Bureau, ISTAT, the country is on track to record a new low in births for 2024. This marks the 16th consecutive year of declining birth rates, with the expected number of births hitting the lowest level since Italian unification in 1861. Between January and July 2024, there was a 2.1% drop in births compared to the previous year, with 4,600 fewer births. In 2023, Italy recorded just 379,890 births, a sharp 34.1% drop from 2008, when the country last saw an increase in the birth rate. The fertility rate, standing at 1.2 children per woman, is well below the 2.1 rate necessary to maintain a stable population. This ongoing demographic crisis is impacting Italy's economic potential, with experts noting that Italy's aging population poses significant risks to the country's public finances and overall growth. Additionally, Italy has the lowest employment rate in the European Union, further compounding the economic challenges posed by a shrinking, aging workforce. Despite numerous government efforts to reverse the trend, Italy's birth rate has continued to decline, signaling that more substantial, long-term solutions are needed to address the crisis. The report also highlighted that women in Italy are delaying childbirth, with the average age for a first-time mother at 31 years, and a growing number of children are being born to unmarried women, reflecting shifting societal norms. Well, that's it for today. What do you think about Japan and Italy's population crises? Do you think the measures they're taking will be enough to turn things around? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more updates on this topic and other exciting content. See you next time.